What's up, horror fam? Welcome back to the channel. So for today's episode, we have a few topics that we're going to cover off on. Faith, the Unholy Trinity will actually be getting a horror movie adaptation. We also found out that the Giant Spider Invasion movie rights, and that includes to the original, sequel, and any reboots that will get done on this, are going to be going up for auction. And there's news coming out from Amazon MGM Studios that Bloodlust series will be in the works by Halsey to direct and write. So let's jump into those details. Faith, the Unholy Trinity horror movie adaptation in the works. Aired off Games video game Faith, the Unholy Trinity is making the leap to the screen. Bloody Disgusting has exclusively learned with a movie adaptation officially in the works. Brandon Salisbury, the writer and director of the highly anticipated documentary George A. Romano's Resident Evil, has inked a deal with Aired Off Games, the creator of Faith, the Unholy Trinity video game, to bring the horror franchise to the big screen in what promises to be the first installment of a horror trilogy. So a quick side note, we did cover off on, if you don't know about the George A. Romero's Resident Evil documentary, we did cover that on a previous episode, so make sure you go over there, check it out, where we go through all the details about what this documentary is going to be about, along with his wife and the blessing that she had given for this actually to be done, along with the last film in his catalog that's also in the works. Salisbury is joined by executive producer Steve Barton, who executive produced the box office hit Terrifier 2. Additionally, George Demek and Aired Off Games, the original creators of Faith, will also serve as executive producers, with Aired Off taking on an advisory role to ensure the film stays true to the game's vision. So I think that's key. We've seen time and time again where video games, whether it's a horror video game, whether it's any video game for that matter, where a TV series or a movie is attempted to be done, and for whatever reason, the director, the writers do not stay true to the source material. So I do hope this holds true. I hope they do not deviate from this. If you're gonna make a film or a TV series based off a video game franchise, stay true to the story, stay true to what we've seen and what we're accustomed to. Now, I do know there's gonna be some wiggle room. You're gonna wanna put your own stamp on things. You're gonna wanna have your creative aspect added to it, but you can't deviate too far from that, because if you do, the hardcore fans of these video games are gonna let you know, and they will not let you forget about it, and let alone support the film or the franchise as a TV series. The screenplay will be handled by Emmy Award-winning screenwriter John Esposito, based on a treatment written by Brandon Salisbury and Stephen Barton. Joining them will also be filmmaker and cinematographer Tom Ribbenalt and J.J. Turlock, creator of the popular YouTube channel Residents of Evil, devoted to Resident Evil and survival horror gaming. Turlock serves as producer for the film. Alright, so set in the 1980s, the Faith games follow John, a young priest struggling from the fallout of a failed exorcism. Themes of faith, guilt, and redemption permeate the narrative, which centers around demonic possession and religious horror. Players guide John as he confronts a satanic cult hell-bent on releasing the ultimate evil. The games draw inspiration from the infamous Satanic Panic of the 1980s, an era marked by widespread paranoia about satanic influence in media, music, and tabletop games. Salisbury says about the project, the game is an example of horror through minimalistic locations and characters, a disturbing journey that the player has to endure to its end. For the film, we want to preserve that same feeling you get when you play Faith for the first time. We are treating the material with respect that fans expect and deserve. I hope that they do that, because if you don't, again, the fans will not let you hear the end of it. Barton adds, as a lifelong gamer and horror fan, the challenge and opportunity to take the minimalistic horror milestone and flesh it out while preserving its terrifying roots is one I could not pass up. Faith will be the third collaboration with Salisbury, Ribbenalt, and George and Carson Demek. The group previously campaigned for a sequel to George Romero's Night Riders, producing a concept film that gathered support from many of the original cast and crew. Meanwhile, George A. Romero's Resident Evil will be available on digital and on demand starting January 7th, 2025. If we go down here a little bit more, based on the hit game, we have a first poster right here. I think this would look a bit cleaner without all this text right here in the middle. Maybe it was just moved down to the bottom, or again, not included at all. But I do like the poster. And the theme, you guys have heard me say this before, I am a big fan of the subgenre with the exorcisms, the demonic possession. It's one of my favorite genres in horror. So I am looking forward to this film and can't wait to see what they can come up with. All right, so the Giant Spider Invasion film rights are going up for public auction. The rights to the 1975 creature, the Giant Spider Invasion, including sequel and remake rights, are going up for auction. So many of you probably don't know of this film, have never heard of this film. I would recommend, if you can find a copy of it, if you can find a way to view it, Consider the time it was made in, 1975. I think it serves the purpose for the time period. Looking back on it now, it might seem kind of goofy, but that doesn't mean that whoever scoops up these rights, I think, could potentially have something very unique here. Now, I'm not a big spider person. It's one of the films that when spiders are involved or the main protagonist, I tend to cringe a little bit. I'm not afraid of spiders, just necessarily don't like spiders. Back in 1975, director Bill Rebane brought the world a giant spider invasion, an independent science action horror film that managed to get network play on both ABC and CBS, was mocked on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and made somewhere in the range of $15 to $22 million on a budget of $300,000. For then, I think that's great for the time period. Now, if you think about today's time period when you have a film, and again, I keep using this as an example, where you have something like Terrifier, the franchise, or recently Terrifier 3, which I believe their budget was $2 to $6 million. It made over $80 million, which that's still going to go up because my understanding is it is getting re-released back in theaters in some regions for around the Christmas time. It's possible, depending upon if that stays in theaters from Christmas through the end of the year, that film could break $100 million. So depending upon whoever buys these rights up, they could potentially have a money-making franchise on their hands. Again, it's all going to depend upon what story they're looking to tell, how much upfront budget they're looking to put into this. Now, Julian's Auctions has announced that the rights to the film are going up for public auction this week. This includes remake and sequel rights. The winning bidder will also receive the original 35mm negative of the film. The rights to the giant spider invasion are being offered by the current rights holder, who happens to be Rebane. This auction is part of the Julian's Auctions and Turner Classic Movie collaboration, a week of Hollywood legends, sci-fi, horror, and action, which takes place at the Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills, California on December 12th, which is just a few days away. The man-eating spider prop, which is said to be in museum quality shape because it has been partially refurbished by the Merrill Historical Society in Wisconsin, is also going up for auction. So we have a quote here from the director. After a black hole strikes, it opens up another dimension in rural Wisconsin town, and soon there is an invasion of gigantic arachnids who crave human flesh. NASA scientists Dr. Vance and Dr. Jenny Langer try their best to save humanity as a romance blooms between them. And it just goes on to talk a little bit more about the rights, and that's pretty much where we end up. So whoever buys the rights up for this film, I think, again, could have something on their hands. It's not something that's typically approached very much in horror. I think we've only recently had a spider film come out like a year or so ago. So again, I can't think of too many that touch on this where the spider is the villain, so to speak. But we've been surprised thus far when it comes to horror films, when you think something can't work and it does actually work if it's done right. So our last topic for today, Bloodlust. Halsey writing, Ty West directing Amazon series. All right, so after working together on Maxine, singer, actor Halsey and director Ty West are reuniting for the dark comedy series Bloodlust over at Amazon. Described as a dark comedy, the series is in the works for Prime Video, and the site's report notes that Halsey is writing the project and Ty West will be seated in the director's chair. In addition to writing, Halsey is also the creator and executive producer of Bloodlust. Variety notes in today's report, however, that the singer doesn't plan on starring in the series. Ty West will also serve as executive producer with Mark Friedman on board as executive producer and showrunner of the project. Plot details for Bloodlust are currently under wraps. Stay tuned for more. Ty West is, of course, fresh off directing the X trilogy, which kicked off with the 1970s set slasher movie X and continued with prequel Pearl and this year's sequel Maxine. Halsey played a character named Tabby Martin in Maxine, a friend to Maya Goth's title character. And we go on a little bit here about some of the other projects they've been involved in. We don't see too many horror TV series, and maybe this is the start of something after the year of 2024 horror movies. Some of the successes that we've seen, most recently, we've talked about, we did cover on our last episode, The Substance got nominated for 5 Golden Globes, and we don't know what that also then could lead to with the other awards. Could we see The Substance pop up there as well? Going into next year, we know already that the landscape for horror films is getting pretty full, especially in the first half of the year. So I am excited to start seeing some more TV series come out. One of my favorite ones that's currently out there, and it's been running for quite some time, is American Horror Story. If you haven't checked out that show, or if it's been a while since you've checked out that show, I suggest going back and giving it another watch. Again, we don't see too many of them, so I am glad to see that we are going to be getting some more. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for today's episode. I just want to say a quick thank you to all the new subscribers to the channel. It is greatly appreciated to have your support. Throw a comment down in the comment section. Let us know what you think about the Unholy Trinity coming out with its own movie adaptation of the video game. Do you feel the giant spider invasion from 1975? It's time to reboot, remake this film and see what a modern take can look like. And are you looking forward to more TV series like Bloodlust coming to the horror genre? And that's going to do it for today's show, everyone. We will see you at the next one. Peace.